Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from Sort of Interesting, and well, it's another cosy evening on board. Dark night's here, it's fantastic. It's about 7 o'clock, the fire's roaring away down there, and well, I have been looking through, once again, if I flip the camera around here, one of my old diaries. And what we've got here, rather interestingly, is from when I was 16 and approaching my 17th birthday in April 2004. And it was written, as you can see, on the back of the flip-style desk calendar there. So what I've got here are all from when I was age 16, and unfortunately I stopped this diary before my birthday in April. And well, we'll just have a look at a few of the entries here. So let's put the camera up to somewhere where you can look at my ugly mug, and well, we'll start reading. Well, you know what folks, it's got to be said, over the last sort of 10-15 minutes, while I've really read through all of these notes that I've got here in front of me, it's got to be said that they are pretty depressing. I mean, I literally just talk about trying to write this book that never ever gets finished in the end. I suppose the fact that I know what happens ultimately after all of this, it makes it even sadder in ending, because all my dreams failed to come true until those dreams became a narrowboat many years later. And well, if you excuse my 99p reading glasses here, hey there. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So there's one great entry for March 2004 where I randomly, and I don't know what on earth I'm meaning by this or how it occurs, but it just says, Nan and Grandad had an argument over carpets today. And that pretty much sums up the level of sort of, I don't know, whatever I was recording and thinking was important for future reference. So anyway, if we dive now into the incredibly depressing world of 16-year-old Dan Brown approaching his 17th birthday, well, let's pick out some gems such as this. So, if we have ourselves a look at, I don't know, the 10th of February. 10th of February, now, no names mentioned, but there's a girl that I liked, and this very much sums up how my life was. And, well, still is. I asked for her mobile number, not in the best way possible. She just burst out laughing and told me to get it from, insert friend's name. What? Oh my goodness me, I can only imagine how distraught I was at that. So anyway, moving on. Whew, it's a good job there's been a decade since these events. There's another classic one here. And if we have a look, this is something that I think is quite sort of, I don't know, the level of interest that I had is what it sort of sums up. If I'm not writing about trying to write another section of me book, blah blah blah, then I'm writing about college and college work, and it's a strange, awkward period of time in my life where I've never really fit in with the general populace, as you can imagine. And well, looking around us now, I'm sure that you can see that it still doesn't quite click with general society. But this is the sort of thing that I put today, and today being the 20th of January, I impressed even myself, because obviously I was very, very difficult to impress. I had history homework given from today first lesson, and by the time I had to go back for third lesson, I had done it. Wow, now that's amazing. And then in IT, I couldn't do my general studies, so instead I just did Tolkien stuff all lesson. Now, I'm not sure entirely what Tolkien stuff was. Obviously, referring to Lord of the Rings and all that sort of thing, I was obsessed and read all of the sort of Middle-earth books, even the ones that aren't about it, like, I mean, Rover Random and things like that I've read as well. And all in this sort of mid-teen era where I was really super into, like, Lord of the Rings, and, well, the Silmarillion to this day is one of my favourite books ever. But, no, it's just this weird sort of, I had no interest in humanity, and yet then, every now and then, dropped in, there'll be a sort of reference to going back to college after half term, maybe, and I'll be like, ooh, it's going to be great to get amongst people again, because I literally would just sort of not be at college, and not be with anybody at all. And, I don't know, it's like I say, this is a very sad, forlorn set of diary entries I've got here. So, glasses off for this one. We've got here on the 19th of February. I did a little IT homework, a bit of my timeline, and wrote and planned some of my book. I suppose it was alright. I'm still clean. I've no idea what that's referring to. Glasses back on because I can't see anything. I saw insert school friend's name. It was good to speak to her. She's got a job. Ooh, very mature. Because, well, I don't know really if beyond cleaning the house. And I, at this point, had not discovered eBay and started selling old Star Wars figures and trading in thousands and thousands of little plastic weapons and things like that for him. So I still hadn't really got a concept of proper working beyond cleaning the house and that sort of thing at this point. I hope I see her again soon. And it doesn't reference that I fancy her. So, well, good on you, 16-year-old Dan Brown. So, if we skip to the 10th of April here, I make a rather interesting little statement, which once again I think shows my sort of sheltered life and how I never really was interested in getting out there. That, nearly age 17, I wrote, after, I'm going to sleep at my nan and granddad's house. They won't be there, so I'll be on my own. It's going to be great. And that, I believe, is the first time that I had ever slept in a house all night without anybody else being there. And I know I'd slept at friends' houses before, but I find it weird that it took me until nearly 17 that I was actually sleeping just in an empty house. And then the following day, I write, blah blah blah, it was good at Nan and Grandad's last night, not scary at all. So I was a brave little boy, obviously. Once again, another incredibly upbeat one. This is from the 25th of January. And this, it's quite an interesting one. Well, today I have certainly written plenty of my book, but I suppose I should be writing this much every day. I don't know why, but today reminded me of the old days, when I was younger. I know I'm only 16, but I wish I could go back 10 years. And at age 16, saying I wish I could go back a decade. I mean, now at 26, I wish I could go back to this age. But, I don't know, that seems particularly forlorn and particularly sort of hopeless. I don't know what on earth was, what reminded me of the old days when I was younger. I can't possibly contemplate in my head what I was actually talking about in these entries like that. Such an abstract sort of thing. And, well, once again, 25th of January 2004. Now, while I was at college, one of the big hobbies that my group of friends had was going down to the leisure centre, which was just opposite the college, where they had a quiz machine, Guinness World Records 1997, and we played it so much that we started to know all the answers, and we could recognise the patterns of whether it was going to pay out or whether it was going to just take your money and not give you anything or any chance at a fair shot of a prize. And amusingly, on the 30th of March, I wrote this. I'm writing this at a ridiculously early time. It's only 12:30 in the afternoon, whereas normally these would be written at about 10 at night. A good day so far. In history, we moved around in seats, because I think all us lot were talking too much. But I went with £2.50, and I now return with £14.50. The quizzer is paying out. In total so far, we've taken 45 quid out of it. Now, I always remember on that day, we ended up taking 95 quid out of it. And, well, that was a very good day, because you can imagine that at that sort of mid-teen college student level. And, oh yeah, this is English, UK term college, not like university equivalent of American college. But you can imagine, wow, that's £14.50 from £2.50. Who would have ever known it? And also, handed in a half-done piece of tutorial work. In general studies, my essay for the longbow got an A. Obsessed with medieval history, even back then. Probably more so back then. Now, as much as this hasn't been a very cheery video at all, and filled with heartbreak and that, there's a genuine moment in here that I'll just mention because it's something that was a huge moment in the general family life, I suppose. This is the 24th of February 2004, and there's a few little bits on here, but the important line is, "A shock today. Great-granddad told Nan he wants to move to an old people's home. Nan is upset." And that really was the sort of the final acceptance of, I mean, my family on my mum's side, we lived in one house about, I don't know, 200 or 300 feet from my nan and granddad's house, who in turn lived once again only a minute or two's walk away from her dad's house. And so our family had always been really close together, and over the holidays of school and things like that, I would see my nan and granddad, obviously my mum and dad, and my great-granddad pretty much every day. And when he had that moment, as obviously, I mean, he's very old and his health was slowly failing, and it's just a strange thing to look back and say that at the very least I knew back then something like that was a huge moment, and even put it as a shock even before I was like really capable of understanding what things like that meant. And ultimately it's the moment where everything, sort of, the ball started rolling for my great-granddad to ultimately go into the old people's home where he spent the last few years of his life. And I don't know, it's little moments like these, as much as it's nice to look back in my other video that I did of my year 2000 diary, which is filled with far more jolly things, so please check out the video of some of those entries, hear me talking about S Club 7 and Pokemon and goodness knows what. But I do really love the fact that even though I've only got a little bit of the year 2004 recorded, I've still got just moments like this that it's nice to look back on, no matter how sort of sad and upsetting these sort of things are, and knowing obviously now, a decade later, what they all ultimately meant and what they led to. It's nice to really, like I've said in other videos, to just be able to look back, see what you thought was important, some cases why you thought it was important, and just in general have those sort of the ultimate memories that you can't remember everything. Whereas if you've got something like this written down, and I'm lucky that I was such a nerd as a child, saying that, let me take off these 99p glasses, that I have got such a treasure trove of these old things to look back at. So yeah, I think I'll wrap things up there. I'll say I had a lot of messages on Facebook in particular from some younger people when I posted this video, or the video of my previous diary, talking about like writing one or they want to write one. And I just say, yeah, go for it. I mean, like I say, even if it's all boring when you look back at it years later, it's just nice to have something that you can look back on and say, oh yeah, I would have never remembered all these things. And it's strange how I can remember bumping into that girl who I said, ooh, very mature because she's got a job. And it's like, I can specifically remember moments like that when you read back and it triggers the memory in your head. And it's just incredible to think. And yet then there's other things written in here that even now, having that clear sort of reference to them, telling me what happened, I can't possibly conjure up in my mind. And so anyway, yeah, I think I will say thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out my other videos. Make sure if you're interested into diaries and filofaxes and things like that, check out my other videos, because I have literally got a huge collection of notebooks. I've got loads of videos looking inside old diaries and notebooks and things like this. And well, just in general, make sure you subscribe, like the Facebook page, you can follow me on Twitter, you can add my personal account on Facebook, all the links will be up on the screen in a second, and most importantly, have a fantastic day. And also buy my book about living on board a narrowboat. It's called The Narrowboat Lad, £1.53 on the Kindle. Right, now, have a fantastic day, farewell.